guys, welcome back. I have a couple of things for today to do with you guys. The first thing I'm going to do is a student critique. I was sent this picture by Deb O'Haver, and she wanted to know what she was doing wrong when it came to her shadows. Now, I'm going to assume she was talking about her cast shadow, which is this shadow down here. When I look at this, I don't see just that problem, even though that is a bit of a problem. I see a lot of different problems with the lighting on this. So I couldn't just say, oh, just go in at this angle. I wanted to do a full-on critique for her. And this is good for everybody because these are such common mistakes. The whole concept for you guys to listen to may turn a light bulb on for you when it comes to lighting. And this is a very good example. So Deb told me in her email that her lighting source was coming from the back and going this way. It was high up and it's sort of touching here, 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 here. And that's why the cast shadow is going this way. Now, I'll say the cast shadow is going in the right direction for the sun to have been over here and sort of in the back. The problem comes into play here is because the rest of her shadows are going, or her shading is going in other directions. And that's why the cast shadow is not fitting in with this picture properly. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I printed out her picture 2 times. And I printed out a second one, and then I sort of drew over the ink. So I couldn't fix her mistakes, per se. I just added in more to make it look better. So here is mine. This is what hers look like, and this is what mine looks like. Now, let's take a look at why this one is better. Now, I couldn't get rid of all her cast shadow down here. So let's go through it one area at a time. If her sun was coming in down this area, okay, and it's not from behind, it's sort of like skimming behind. See where I changed it, I darkened up down here, and I moved her highlight up. So you could see it, the difference of where hers is and where mine is. Now, I liked her leaf. Don't get me wrong. This is a really good, she did a very good shading on the leaf. If the sun was hitting it in the opposite direction. Notice she has a strong highlight on the bottom, and this is low in the leaf. It's coming directly like this, which is in complete opposite of where she says her highlight is coming from and her cast shadow is pointing at. So that was what, all these little things is what confuses your brain. And when you can't really say what it is, usually your shadows are in all different places. You have to double check. When I color, I'm constantly going, where would it go? Where would it hit? Where would it hit? And putting that object 3-dimensionally in my brain and imagining a beam of light coming down and hitting that object. So right over here, you just know this is incorrect. So I changed it. Okay? Now the crown. Her crown had no lighting on it at all. It was basically the same going all around. That makes it look very flat and 2-dimensional. In this, in mine, you had the lighting coming down. I'm trying to find a gray pencil because I didn't completely work this picture out, and I see even more that I can put. Oh, well, I'm finding dark green, not gray. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here you have the lighting coming down this way. Because of where it's hitting on here, I have a light area right there. This should actually be a little darker. And this is a little darker. It'll give the crown more of a three-dimensional look. And this side would be darkened. So it's coming down and hitting it right there, hitting the leaf, pushing everything that way. You can really stretch it and put a highlight over here, but I didn't, so that's the way it is. We get rid of the flat look on here. Now we have the Beetle, which I don't know whether you were finished with the Beetle or you weren't. You really shouldn't be putting cast shadows in till the end, but this is very underdone, and I really can't blend too much because it's on ink, but there should be some sort of roundness going on the Beetle. The bottom should be darker, and the top should be darker. As the light is hitting, it's smashing dents, kind of like skimming the apple in the front, even though it's coming from the back. If there was a face, sitting here, this side of the face would get some highlight going into a big area on this as it skims the surface. So this was underdeveloped in your picture. So that's kind of another reason why it looked a little wonky. Now we're going to look at the diamond. As it is now, you've got a solid mass with a hairnet. Now, I only worked on for a little while. You have to bring in other hues. Do not go by the facet, okay? Facets are not... Each facet should be done a little differently, and it should hit the light like an array of color on every facet. So treat, say, this facet right here, which I didn't do yet, treat this one as if it was its own separate area. So I may have some green, I have some browns, I may have a yellow at the top, and that would be the colors that it's reflecting from around it. Now, I didn't get into the light going through and creating a highlight, but there would be like sort of a highlight over here. This wasn't a diamond tutorial. I could talk this whole video about a diamond. But to get those facets correct, also, you try to remove as much of the... After you turn it white, try to go up into it so that the colors... That should just be the edge. It shouldn't be a distinct entity. Where on here, you actually created a hairnet. Together with even knots. So that's the difference. It's all in the lines. Okay, so, and I realized you were trying to get rid of black lines. Okay, so the apple core. There's nothing to give it a dimension. So what I did is I darkened in this area right here. Now, it was already dark before over here, so there wasn't much I could do about the perspective, but you really wouldn't see too much dimension in this. It would be kind of like a straight, and then it would hit that way with a line, and that's the correct perspective on it. Hannah Calzone, her perspective is sometimes off, but that's her style. The apple is very two-dimensional. You didn't do any sort of shading. I see you did the colors in there, and I see that you tried and made an effort to get other shades of color in it, but you didn't put the shading where it's really supposed to be. And on my apple, I wasn't too interested in the details, less and less. I'm more interested in where my lights and darks are supposed to go. So I have the light coming in, it's bouncing off the skin over here, skimming the surface, and I have a little bit of a highlight over there. Dark on the bottom because we're doing a sphere, and dark on the top as it curves over the top. And now let's get to the big problem, your shadow. Your cast shadow. It was correct. The direction it was going in was correct. The problem with it is you didn't need all of this. This type of shadow would come if the light was all the way in back and hitting the back completely and pushing it out this way. So if you would, you just got a little zealous. If you got rid of all of this, like I tried to do on mine, and just made it that way. Now, your paper was dark, so I couldn't particularly blend out all the lines, but this has to be a very, very, very soft edge. Very good gradient to almost to the white. With it being the darkest over here, think where the light, it would be dark. And then as the light starts to disperse and more light can get in, the shadow will become lighter and lighter. And there really shouldn't have been nothing over here. So that was the problems why your picture is bothering your eye, that you couldn't just get it. But the good thing about it is you can change it. It's not lost yet. You didn't spray it. You can keep going with it. So the fixes that I did for your picture will be very easy for you to change in the original. So let me see how you do at the end. I put out my first Halloween video yesterday, and you guys liked the quirkiness of it, and I'm glad, because all my Halloween pictures now are going to be very quirky. That's what I said. Halloween is fun. I didn't want to just work you to the bones and, oh, you have to get this lesson. Yeah, I taught you how to do a new background, but let's have some fun with it. It is Halloween. For my Halloween pictures, and I know I'm getting a huge glare. Which one of these lights is doing it? Okay, well, that's... Unless I take the lights completely off, this is too reflective. I'm going to be working out of Magic Autumn, and that's Alena Lazarevia's coloring book. And I was going in the direction of doing my own artwork, because I couldn't go anywhere with the coloring books that are doing like the line drawing. And this is when Alena swooped down and saved me, and I could bring you 10 times the amount of lessons in half the amount of time. So here is her book. Now, I want to show you some of the pages in this book, not only just because I like the book, but I wanted to show you the difference in what a real artist knows how to do. Now, this is why I like it so much. One, she has no hard edges that should not be hard. Yeah, there's a little line, but that's because she hasn't colored it in. Her lines are so faint going around the edges where there should be a hard line, but they're so faint that you can blend that into anything. She didn't make a hard line where there should be shading, but she was getting lazy. She didn't get lazy with these pictures at all. Where she needed to have it shaded, it was shaded, so that all you have to do is put the color over it, and it's going to look good. And I really believe that doing grayscale, because I come from a graphite background, when you're doing grayscale, good grayscale, that's graphite work. It's the type of shading. And if you learn your shading and your tone, adding color to tone is easy. I can actually do this dress in red and blue, and it will look like one piece of material, because if I match the tone where it's supposed to be, it will work. So color is always secondary to tone. You can have 100 colors in something, but if your tone is not right, and you have your lights and your darks and everything is flat, the picture's not going to look good. So that's what I really love about this book. Also, her lighting is correct. Now, I want you to take a look at some of her pictures that were very correct. I am not even questioning what side the lighting is coming from. It's hitting dead right that way, slightly tilted. You've got your highlight here, which matches up here. A little bit dark here because her head is tilted, and then it hits right over here. Her arm is lit up. The pumpkins are all lit up in the right places. That's a good artist. Here's another example. The lighting in this one is hitting dead center. She's got her lighting going here, her highlights going all in the right places. And look down here, all in the right places. There is no question where that lighting source is coming from. Here's another one. There is no doubt that this lighting source is being lit from the front. And how do I know? You've got this big, gigantic highlight going down her legs, plus the pumpkins. And it would hit and skim the shirt. And right over here, you got a big old highlight. There is no doubt her light is coming in this way. This one, her light is actually coming in more from the top and going down. Because, see this? That's really bright. See up here? It's really bright. See down here? It's shaded. It's coming in right like this. It's hitting the top. It's hitting her shoulder. It's hitting her knuckle. Beautiful. Beautiful job. These are just some of the pictures. I am going to be working out of this book throughout my Halloween pictures, which I'm going to do about 5 of them. I have 5 of them already started, and it's only July, so I may get a few more in, but I want to start Christmas too. So I think I'm going to stick with those 5 pictures, and I have a different technique, a different background. So it's not so much the front, because this is a grayscale, so I can't change or adapt anything to it because the highlights are where they are going to be. So my idea for Halloween is teaching you really cool backgrounds. And they're all going to be animated. They're all going to be fun and quirky and relaxing. So that's what I wanted to cover today. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care.